I'd like to thank everybody as well for the opportunity to take a few minutes, go over my time limit, of course. That's our habit here. And kind of walk through what the city of Brooklyn Park has been doing over the last year. I think obviously we've been in the news a lot for development. That is kind of driving our city as we start to become more developed. We still have lots of land left. If you go down 610, you will see a few changes if you haven't been here for a while. If you haven't been there down the last few months, there will be more changes. This last year we welcomed a few different companies at the business parks on 610, and we're starting to get a flavor of international companies. So Worth Adams from Germany, Nilfig from, I believe they're a Danish company, Olympus, a Japanese company. And so we're starting to get a good situation. And myself, having worked in international sales, I know that these things can become a critical mass where when brokers who are looking for sites for international companies, they tend to look areas, and as they start to see a pattern, they start to go back to the area and see why are other international companies moving there. And so we know that as we acquire and people decide to make that decision to move to Brooklyn Park, that creates more likelihood that other international companies, and they come to the Twin Cities to look, will do that. Between the total of all these companies, probably about $110 million of investment, about 1,100 jobs, which is what our goal is. Our goal is we want jobs. We've said no to a few different things that involved lots of empty buildings with boxes. We have a warehouse district, but we're not interested in that. What we're interested in is, as I like to say, the butts and chairs. We want people working in our city. We want people who are going to be part of our community, who are going to shop, eat, and we think that we're on that way. Other international companies, Hy-Vee's from Iowa. I don't know, it's up to you guys if that's international or not. It feels different, but they are Iowan, so just to clear that up. So they'll be opening, I believe, in the spring, early summer. We're excited about that. I think they've got a couple stores open all over the place, and New Hope, I think, is, and so I've been down there. I had to check it out, of course, and so we're hopeful because what you may not know about Hy-Vee and what's interesting to me is they employ 400 to 500 people. It's not, when you go in there, they have a lot of people on staff, and so those are real jobs, and there are opportunities in an employee-owned company. So I think that people who start there, it's an idea of not just work there until I go to college, just work there and I have a career. Just recently, we had Takeda announcement last week. Pharmaceutical, which is the largest Japanese pharmaceutical company, has decided to invest. What's nice about that, we've had a couple investors in that building, is that they actually have approved pharmaceutical lines that FDA approval, which means they can start making them. So we've always been kind of on that where they've done research and we hope something goes right and that this will result in all this investment. This is the first time we've actually had somebody who's moving lines in here. It'll take a couple years. They hired the staff that was there. And I think that, I used to, when I did business in Japan, you tend to find that Japanese companies like to co-locate. And so you will find out more of that. I'm so good I don't need a presentation up here, I can talk.
You can continue, Jeff. It's on
Okay.
the side screen as well, so you might have to turn your head.
No, I'm good. I can talk all day long. So, we're excited because last week I had the opportunity to have lunch with Governor Dayton, Lieutenant Governor Smith, Commissioner of D. Clark Sieben, and staff from Takeda and also Mayo Clinic. And it was interesting to me in that room and talking about the direction of Minnesota is we are a world leader in medical technology. That is not the same as pharmaceutical. That is an industry we are not nearly as we're not a leader at all. And so getting this in here becomes a building point where with the Mayo Clinic, with the U of M, you start to talk about, we start to getting pieces together and companies start to locate another completely different industry. They're talking about at that place about genetically making drugs that are made for certain people. So instead of going to the drugstore and buying something because you have a headache, they will do a genetic makeup on you and start to understand that maybe people from Japan use different, their genetic makeup needs different types of pharmaceuticals. And so in that regards, we can start to talk about medicine that's tuned for a person, not for the masses. And so that's the exciting part of what things are working on. And it was great to be in that room when we were talking and understanding that Brooklyn Park has an opportunity. I think that obviously the Northwest Metro, that when we start to talk about people having opportunities to do different careers, that we can do that as well. So that's better. Now we have no screens. So anyway, it was a good conversation. It's a strategic initiative of the state. Obviously, it's okay. And with that, thank you very much. And I thought Dave was going to give me a different signal. I didn't know it would be the turn off the cameras first. And, you know, if I only knew who owned this place, right? So the next few slides, they're about great things, billions of dollars investment since you can't see them. And I think what we've been talking about now is light rail. And over the next month, the community has to come to what's called a municipal consent. And I believe it's on January 25th. Looking for Kim for confirmation, so I don't give the right date. We're going to do a community meeting, start to have people talk about that decision. It's not insignificant. Even though we've been planning for years, it's still a big decision. We have 5 stops in our city, at 63rd, at Brooklyn Boulevard, at 85th by the college, at 93rd, and out by 610 by the Target campus. Each one of those creates different opportunities. You know, the one on 85th, we have opportunity. I think that, you know, taxpayers always say, why can't government work with other government? And so we've been starting to have meetings with North Hennepin to talk about partnerships at different levels. That stop is going to be mostly we're hoping for students to get off and on. And that is good because in the southern part of our city, we have people who suffer from what I call an opportunity gap. They don't get access because they don't have reliable transportation to get to jobs, to get to education. And so we look, even within our city, the light rail line is going to give people the chances to do different things. So again, on the 25th, we're going to do public comment. I think a lot of people are like, just vote already, for God's sakes. For 2 years, you've been talking about this. You've had lots of meetings, but that's been good because we've learned lots of things. And so as we continue to walk down that path and continue partnerships with the Met Council, Chair Dunn is in the back. This is a big deal. It is a 100-year decision. It's not a road. At the end of the day, we look at it as when people get off the airport and they look at the light rail and they're trying to figure out where they are. Brooklyn Park is going to be at the end of one of those rail lines. So we have some really great pictures you can't see, but that's okay. It's only a fire hydrant, so it may not sound that exciting, but we've been trying to find kind of unique and identifying ways to empower neighborhoods to take ownership. And so we've had a few people, adopt a fire hydrant and people will dress them up. I'm trying to find the picture of the person who made their fire hydrant look like a Packers fan and then let their dog express his displeasure. So we're hopeful. That is not on here. You're not missing that one. I would wait literally an hour to have that picture up there. We've also talked about things. This year, we're on track to have the lowest number of crimes in our city since 1986, despite having roughly 25,000 more people. We think that's awesome. I can't imagine what it was like as things were, I think as crime was really starting to grow, but we've got it to a number that is less than it was at that time. And what I always like to point out, because I know there are a lot of people, even though I know Minnesota nice, people like to associate diversity with crime. We are 3 times as diverse as we were at that time, which would mean crime, diversity have no correlation. Because we are more diverse, we have less crime. And so we look at that as an example of when people like to say things that aren't supported by facts. I present to you that is fact 1 in our city, that we can prove that that is not the fact. And our police are using intelligent policing, things like not just talking about neighborhoods that have higher crime, but streets down to houses. And so we've been working with on a grant that allows us to really fine tune and take a look at how we can be innovative. And the results of that, I believe, published this year, or the results will be kind of gathered, and you'll start to see Brooklyn Park in the national news because we're the only city on this grant showing that what you can do if you start to really bear down into what is crime happening, where it's happening. You will find out that most of your crime in any given city, there's a pretty small area that has it, and you can get down to actually street level and find out that on this street. And so we've been discovering that even on streets with high crime, there are good people living there, but they don't feel empowered to do anything. So what we've been trying to find those good people, give them the support to help police their streets. They'll let us know when things are happening, what is happening, and we know that allows us to be more effective. So this year was, personally, it was interesting. I think for the city, it was really great. we were invited to take part in My Brother's Keeper initiative at the White House, and really take part in a program that's President Obama's initiative about how we deal with those gaps between young boys of color, that would be Hispanic predominantly or African American, and look at those, where those different levels are, and each level, where these gaps start to get wider. I know Kate at the school district, they can track, they can know when things, if kids aren't reading by second grade, odds are they're not going to be reading by the third grade. And so you start to look back and go, okay, what led into second grade, them not reading? What was in first grade? What was at home? What was going on? And so trying to find these things, find out where cities can partner, where cities can make a difference. Cities can't do everything, but we can find partners who can. And I think more than anything, it's an awareness in our city that there are things, small things that we can do. We can't solve everything, but we can certainly be specific and focused and fix some of these things. Later that spring, we also took part in a national conference on after schools at USC with the Schwarzenegger Institute. Probably not two things you would think you'd see in a conversation, Arnold Schwarzenegger and the University of Southern California. But what was interesting was that he's raised $1 billion over 25 years for after schools. And he's been doing it well before he was a movie star. He does it because it's passionate, and it's just amazing. We were out there, we had Google, we had Twitter, we had a lot of West Coast companies, very different than the East Coast, and we were talking about the things that we're trying to get done and taking part in that panel. And I think that is a realization that one of our dreams at Brooklyn Park was to be a leader, not just locally, not just state, but also nationally, that we think that we're bending the curve on some of these tough items. We're still not fixing things, but we're getting there. So I've got some great pictures of two guys. I'm going to ask to stand up instead. This year was some changes in our staff. I think with success, we look at there's opportunities for people to move up. And so we have new people coming in. And so I just want to make sure I introduce first Jay Strobel, our new city manager. And then Eric Hansen, who's in trouble because he didn't show up. But anyway, so it is our quota. We've hit 2 hires from City of Minneapolis. We're done for the year. But no, I think what happens is we're starting to get access to talent from Minneapolis and St. Paul because we're doing some big stuff. The LRT is not an insignificant project. It has taken a decade of planning. And so we know that you need people who have been through that, who understand the process, who understand working with Met Council in the state. And so what we've tried to do is go out and get some more people who have strategic visions of how things can work.